Download Festival 2024 has come and gone. There's been some amazing bands this year, and I want to talk about who I went to see and how I enjoyed them. Please be aware that though my enjoyment ratings are typically quite high or quite low, it's because I don't tend to bother with bands that are just okay. I also will state how much of a set I watched, starting with the first band of the day. By the way, the scoring system 6 is a good. That is like 6 is they were a good group. It's not like in some journal thing where 7 is average. But 7 and up is one. 7 out of 10 and up is one I would recommend going to watch, and 5 is average, like perfectly average. I give it out of 10 and out of 20 because I do give like 7.5, 6.5 out of 10, and so I translate that into 20s as well. So starting with the first band of the day, we have Hanabie. This was one of 2 bands I came to the festival for. I had tickets to see them for the first time in the UK, but I had to cancel due to work commitments, so I was super excited and they did not disappoint. First, band was on the top of their game. I've seen videos of their online performances and of the tour I missed as well, and they performed even better than those videos. The vocalist Yuki-san delivered some brutal screams, and other than the first 30 seconds, the sound mixing was great. Energy was strong throughout, and a very strong set list for me, even without my favourite song, Sentimental Heroine. Could have been much happier with them really, hoping for their continued success overseas. Frozemode. So these were quite a surprise. Super high energy, really good rapping from 3 vocalists with different kinds of rap styles, and the live instrumentation added a lot for me. Would have enjoyed maybe a little more song variety, but the set was short and sweet and the times were good. Also, I wish the guitar was louder. It was a bit drowned out for me. I'd keep in mind I do wear earplugs, but even considering that, the guitar was a bit too quiet. Overall, wish them well, and I thought they added a good variety to the styles available at Download Festival.
Over, and if that bastard whistles, put a knife up to his boner.
As for Scene Queen, this was probably the biggest disappointment of the festival for me, because I do like some of Scene Queen's music, I really do, but I'll try and explain why I felt disappointed and only watched like first 2 songs and a bit of a third. So first is the gimmick is super cringy. I don't like the bimbo thing, and it's just embarrassing in person really. And I know that it's a character, I get it's a character. It didn't make it feel any better, especially because the bimbo stuff isn't even really done in like a particularly funny way. It's not like with some sexualized like Megan Thee Stallion, who I have seen at Leeds Festival, and they were great. And you know, when I think back to listen to Scene Queen, I mostly listen to songs that veered away from the bimbo gimmick, like Pink Barbie Band-Aid and Pink Rover, and you know, like that kind of stuff. So I honestly kind of forgot about how the bimbo stuff is. The second thing was that the sound on stage to me was very empty. It just made the songs feel so bland. And third, I didn't particularly like the stage presence from the group. So that was a shame. Maybe my expectations wasn't, you know, right for what it was going to be, but I was hoping for a good time, and I just ended up going back to the caravan, but when I came back it was followed by one of the best bands of the weekend. So Polyphia, holy shit, I was super stoked to finally see this band, and they did not disappoint at all. The performances from all the musicians were impeccable, the energy was great, and an excellent set list. They also did a really good job with keeping the crowd moving to an instrumental act, even if, for me, mosh pits don't really feel like they fit for this kind of music. But, you know, I appreciate that without lyrics and stuff, they want to try and still maintain energy and some kind of talking. Regardless, super impressed. After that was a familiar but great band. Seen this band about 5 or 6 times before, but they're always great. You know, they're pretty consistently strong. This performance was especially good. Most of the tracks is from my favourite album, Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. The new stuff was super strong too. They always have given strong stage presence and good performances, though the drummer did do the same type of fill too many times. Basically doing a fill past beat 1, you know, like, so maybe coming back in on the regular beat on beat 2. So yeah, I felt something like that, but I didn't know exactly what it was. But yeah, overall, strong performance from the band. Maybe it'd be more like an 8.5 out of 10 if I hadn't seen them before, but I have seen them a few times. After that, I caught a few minutes of here's the thing, I love Mr. Bungle, but not this Mr. Bungle. So if you're not aware of the history of the band, they basically had 2 demo albums early on. The first one was called like Easter Bunny, or the Raging Easter Bunny, something like that. And then the second, that's like fresh death stuff. Then the second demo album was Ska Punk, and I really do like that one. And then came the stuff that they were known for, the stuff I love, the 90s experimental metal stuff that was completely out of this, you know, completely bizarre. And that's the stuff I want. But unfortunately, you know, the band went basically split up, and then they've reunited with the name, but the only one left is the singer. And, you know, he is one of the best singers of the last like 20 years. He's amazing. But they basically re-recorded the original demo album, which is an album that's just okay. It's not like really that good. And you know, that's what they were playing. They were only going to be playing the demo album stuff and tossing in a couple of covers. So for me, it's just like, you know, I didn't particularly fancy it. But I watched a bit before the band that I wanted to see next, and you know, Mike Patton was phenomenal. You know, he's a great vocalist, and the band themselves were playing well, just like the songs weren't particularly special. But besides, I was going straight to Make Them Suffer. Superb. So was excited to hear they would live up to the power of their recordings, because their production is really good, and I feel they definitely did. The energy on stage and of the crowd was superb. Everyone was down for it. The performances were strong, but I really wish the pianist was higher in the mix, because I do really like the keys in their songs, and even her vocals, like the pianist's vocals, weren't loud enough for my taste. But you know, great set overall. So I caught the last 10 minutes of Heilung, and I thought they were really good, which wasn't the entire song because it's like a 14-minute one at the end. But I was really looking forward to them, but I had quite bad fatigue, like tiredness, so I sadly missed quite a bit of most of them. But they had superb atmosphere. The variation of vocal styles and the percussion I thought was great. I was gutted I couldn't see a bit more. After this, I saw a bit of Busted from afar, but I didn't watch enough to really say a lot about him. However, the headliner of the night, I definitely have a lot more to say. Queens of the Stone Age. Apparently there's split opinion on these, but I thought they were great. The performances from the band were strong, most of the setlist choice was good, most of it, and they had a good presence among them. I understand the band's not everyone's cup of tea in like their bigger catalogue, but I think they've got some great stuff. The problem is, you know, some people know their singles like Make It With You, no one knows. That's not really how most of the band's catalogue really is. It's a bit more experimental alternative rock, but they've got some really good stuff. And I thought the singer's voice sounded pretty good. It sounded pretty similar to on record, despite, you know, being inebriated on stage. I don't think that was too professional, but oh well. Not sure about the dreadful guitar solo No One Knows though. Oh my god, that was awful. You know, like that was not very good. But I thought they were a strong headliner for the weekend. Honestly, I get why they're not the best headliner material, because the wider catalogue is kind of a bit more niche, but I thought they did really well in terms of their performance. So the night ended and soon came the Saturday. And the first band was Knife Bride. Though I was really looking forward to Wargasm, as I have enjoyed them before, I thought this band sounded good from afar, so I wanted to go and give them a listen. They were a pretty cool band, and the liveliness of the stage was great to see. They had some pretty good guitar riffs, and you know, they had like good pace throughout. But for me, the thing that holds them back at the moment is the songs don't feel quite there yet. Like, it's like not building a strong identity just yet, but I think they could get there, and you know, I wish the best for them. As for Wargasm, I was actually blown away by how good they were. I've seen them in the past and they were, you know, pretty good. I did enjoy them, but like the songs were like, you know, like some of them were good and some of them weren't my cup of tea. So I've seen them twice before, but these newer songs that they played on stage are actually pretty killer, and their energy was even better than before. I knew they would be enjoyable, but I was shocked by how good they were on this time. I feel they've come a long way recently and maybe learned a lot in the past year, and with this you know, album, their first album, I think they've got a better taste of you know, they've evolved their sound a bit. As for the album itself, I have listened to it after seeing them at Download, and like, not every song is great, but like the songs that are good are really good. I'll eventually do a review of it. Next band, Asinhell. So pretty decent fresh death metal from guys who seem to have been in the game for a while, you know, like experienced veterans. They played well and they had some good, you know, had some good riffs, though I didn't feel the songs were particularly memorable. And the stage presence, other than the singer, who had definitely had some. The rest of the band, it was a bit more static for me. Still enjoyed them though. After them, all I had to do was wait a bit of time for my next band to start. What could go wrong? Bleed from Within. This band was supposed to play for 50 minutes, but in the first of many technical issues on this day, the band was 15 minutes late due to difficulties and cut off a lot of time, sadly. They only got to play like 5 songs, including a cover that they couldn't really back out of because it had guest vocals on it, and it would have been a bit dickish to cut that song. You know, like in terms of, it wouldn't have felt right. But when they were on and they were doing their own songs, they were great, and I've seen them before and they're always a joy to watch. They have a lot of passion when they play. They always give it 100% and always look like they enjoy themselves. So after a break, I went to one of my most excited bands for the weekend, and they did not disappoint. Dying Wish. They lived up so much, really incredible. But during the end of the first song, the power went due to, like, I think it says lightning on some things, but there's not really a proper source. But yeah, like the mic got cut out and it took like 5 or 10 minutes for them to come back. I know this also affected Baby Metal on the main stage, but even worse, and that's super rough. I've seen Baby Metal a few times, which is why I didn't go watch them, and I really got into the Dying Wish with a new album. So that was definitely my choice. But for people who want to see Baby Metal, they only got to play like 4 songs, and that's, yeah, I can't imagine how good that is if you were excited, like particularly excited for them. But I think it affected all bands at that time, and Dying Wish thankfully did get to play a decent length set still. So even though they played shorter, they played a blinder of a set. Then I thought that might have been the highlight of the night. Little would I know that taking a chance on a random band would make it even more incredible. So, Ne Obliviscaris. So, what an incredible set. First off, Opeth meets a superb violinist, hell yes. Second, the violinist was not a cookie cutter, just okay violinist, just playing like, legato all day. I'm very into my classical music. I'm not a violin player. I'd love to do something like that. But like classical is my second favourite genre of music below metal. So, subpar violin wasn't going to be particularly exciting, but this guy could really, really play. Like, secondly, the songs were all incredible. Like, they played 3 songs because their songs are on the longer end, but the songs they played were just incredible. I realised after watching them that actually I did have a song of his in my Spotify playlist from what a friend recommended, and I thought the song was awesome. It's the song we played last in the set. But yeah, it's just blind luck that I happened to go watch them. But yeah, next, the clean vocalist, who was also a violinist, and the scream vocalist were both really powerful and complementary. Like, they worked so well together. The drums were superb, the riffs were face melting, and a huge plus for me is that they had so much fun on stage and were funny. Like, death metal can be boringly serious sometimes with some of the bands, and this was so refreshing to see people actually just like having a lot of fun. Honestly, the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 for me is because of a shorter length, 25 minutes. I just want more, damn it. Like, come back to the UK so I can go see, do a headline show or something, please and thank you. After that, the heaviness definitely did not let up, but intensified. First off, the crowd was incredibly passionate and active for this band. I didn't realise how dedicated of a following they had. There wasn't a quiet moment. Like, I've liked some Alpha Wolf songs, so I already knew them, but I didn't realise how passionate the fans were for this band. And yeah, the heaviness was definitely broad, and the brutality just kept on coming. Hardcore can be a bit too repetitive, but the songs that they played were strong enough to kind of mitigate the issue a little bit, because they've been choosing some of their best material. Strong performance all around. Surely I go less heavy from here, right? Nope. Dying Fetus, motherfucker. Brutal as fuck. I was sure exhausted after these. They've never had the greatest songwriting in the world. They're not that kind of band where you're dying for them to play that many particular songs, but the riffs are pretty sweet, good vocals, and the energy is just absolutely ridiculous. I never felt bored for a moment. I'm pretty sure I counted like a dozen crowd surfers, like a dozen crowd surfers in one song. I think it was, but like the mosh, or was that the other band? The mosh pits were absolutely insane, and thankfully it wasn't the crowd killing kind of bullshit. It was just like more of a normal pit, but yeah, lots of fun. Dying Fetus were great, but not as great as I was super buzzed for these. Haven't seen them in about 13 years, and they were great then, but wow, they're even better now. Missing a lot of their later material after Billy Talent Free didn't really hurt them for me. Their songs are super catchy, energetic, and strong performances from the whole band. I really enjoyed the new songs. I've been listening to those afterward and trying to get acquainted with the newer stuff. They also had background screens that weren't distracting. How refreshing. That's such a novelty. I loved that the talking was also like quite minimum, and they let their songs do the talking. Like that's how it should be done for me. So after that, many went to Fall Out Boy, but I went for my personal headliner, Fear Factory. So I have seen Fear Factory before, once or twice, I think twice, but I've got a lot more into them as a band in the past couple of years than I was before. So they were good then, but really good on this day. I think being in a tent was the perfect environment for this band. They were super engaging to watch, they performed really well, and the set lists were strong, even though my favourite song, Dielectric, didn't make the cut. Quite a lot more singing along than expected from the crowd, and having the crowd being so into it made an excellent atmosphere. After that was the last hour of Fall Out Boy, and unsurprisingly for me, it was Zero. Haven't felt this bored by a band in a long time. Can't believe I stayed, really. I was so tempted to just quit, go back to Caravan, but I was what's the word, I don't like just missing music. I hate it. I'm just like, if I can watch a band, I should try and watch as much of them I can. And there's no other bands on at this time by now, so it's like, it's either Fall Out Boy or be a boring git and go to bed. First disclaimer is that on an objective level, they are a strong group, they perform well, but this is about my enjoyment rating, and I cannot stand their music outside of one album, which is their second album, the sophomore one, and it's tracks like The Takeover, The Breaks Over is amazing, like and then they have a couple of like decent songs on there, like Thanks for the Memories, and I think Arms Race, like that, but that's really it. I can't stand the first album, like the lyrics are horrific and the instrumentals aren't that good either, and then everything after the second album is pop, but not like pop I like. It was just like, I don't know, I've never understood the interest in the band, even like with stuff like I Don't Care and stuff, when rock fans still really enjoyed them. But I'll tell you what, they went down super well at Download. They were the least controversial headline of the weekend somehow, but for me, it was the complete opposite. I knew I wanted to go in liking them. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go out of my way to not enjoy these, but I tried to appreciate it. But even when they have like superb visuals, for me, great visuals and effects and stuff elevate a band you like the music of, but it doesn't do anything for me when the songs aren't there. So that's really how I felt about it. If you enjoyed Fall Out Boy, you know, power to you, because I know that this is a me problem, but they really were not for me. And you know, in terms of visual stuff, like, I thought the visuals were pretty good, but it's like, you know, when I looked at like Machine Head, and their visuals were even better than theirs, but they also had the songs to back it up. But yeah, I really didn't feel anything watching Fall Out Boy. But Fear Factory was more my cup of tea, and I thought they were kind of a good end to the night, essentially. But you know, Sunday was coming, and I felt Sunday was going to be really good as well, and definitely had a good start with World of the Lost. So I'd never heard of this band, but wow, what a surprise. Had no clue who to watch first off, but I was super impressed by these. At first I thought they might have just been like a reasonably good but samey power metal band, you know, judging from the looks, but actually the songs were catchy and the riffs were tasty and the vocals were fantastic, and not just one, but like two great keyboard players. That's really refreshing as like a pianist, and the key parts actually sounded pretty good and were prevalent in the mix. But yeah, the songs were good. Last song was particularly good. I really like that one. But yeah, I'm actually going to be checking out. I've been checking out a bit more of the band's catalogue. So I'm sorry your set was cut short, because on Sunday they opened the arena an hour late, so a bunch of bands got 5 minutes cut of their set. And if you're on the Thursday, I think some of the bands just didn't come on, and that's really bad. But in terms of like bands getting cut, these were meant to be on for 25 minutes and they only got 20. But I'll tell you what, in that short set, I thought you made the most of it, so more power to you. Harper. So Harper, pretty good band and singer. Apparently the singer's the youngest to play Download, so good for them. I think she's about 12 or 13 or something like that. But yeah, no, it didn't feel like that was like some gimmick thing. It's just like a gifted musician at a younger age who's kind of got a good start. So apparently everyone, I found out afterwards, they were on America's Got Talent, and I saw that video, and I don't think they sounded that great on there, but live, you know, like, and maybe with a couple more, you know, she's had a couple years since then, with her own material and with her live sound, she actually sounded mint. So yeah, I enjoyed what I saw of them, though the end song was a cover, which for me, you know, I don't particularly like bands ending on a cover, but it was a very good cover of Chelsea Smile by Bring Me the Horizon, and it's not a cover you hear very often, so you know, I'd take it. It was a strong cover, but yeah, that was very good performance. So on the other end of the scale we have Creeper. So this one, I'll just say a shame. That's how I'm gonna put it. So I saw them support Baby Metal once, some Manchester show, and I thought they were like decent, and I thought like just on the edge of good. It was like a 5.5, 6 out of 10 kind of performance. I'm like, yeah, they weren't too bad, but what the hell happened? Well, I don't know if something happened or if I just realised that the band kind of sucked, but I wish I watched Split Chain instead, because I listened to them after, and it's like, you know, that would have been more my cup of tea. But I was kind of on the last day in all the mud. The mud was terrible this year. I just couldn't get the will to move, especially since I was already late to Creeper's set. Yeah, I just got weird vibes this time, and I thought the vocals were not very good, and the songs were worse than I remember. I thought the songs were okay, but just not my cup of tea. This time I just felt the songs were bad. And so, yeah, a bit of a disappointment there. But, it got better after that. For example, we have Royal Republic. So, Royal Republic, great band. Saw them about 10 years ago in a download festival tent. They were playing like the third stage, and they were really strong on that day from what I remember. But yeah, on this day they were really good. Like the first two songs especially that they picked, My House is a banger. The energy was superb and the musicianship was really strong. The 80s kind of synth sound is a bit overdone. It definitely is. But I thought they did a good job with I thought the songs were like good enough that it justified going for that sound. I would have given this like a pure 8 out of 10, but the ballad song second to last in the set was a major mood killer for me. I just really wanted to end, and it was their longest song that they picked at like 5 minutes. Obviously, I do love variety in the set, and I do criticise when bands don't have variety, but I feel they must have had some better ballad or slower piece in their catalogue. I don't feel like I can believe that's the best one they've got. And the crowd itself was quite dead for that song as well, so I don't understand the choice. But either way, the last song was strong, and it brought the energy back up a bit, so I'd still give them a great score.
Everything's fine apart, now I can't see you. Doesn't matter what I do, can't see you, 'cause everything's fine apart.
Then it was Zebrahead. So I had the choice between what we found out to be the secret band, Parkway Drive, and these. And the decision making was that I've seen Parkway Drive several times, and they are like one of the best live bands, to be fair, that I've seen. They are superb, but I didn't like the last album very much, and I saw them on that tour and they did play well, but I'm just like, I don't know. I've never seen Zebrahead, and I've liked Zebrahead. I think I saw 5 minutes of them once at download, but I like the music, so I wanted to give them a shot, and they were good. Yeah, they were like really funny, funny, fun, and good vocals, and it was just a great experience to see, really. Now the next band was the second band other than Hanabie, who I came to see specifically. So, but this was the first one I saw where I'm like, I have to go this year, and it was the one and only Crystal Lake.
This is all. Let's fucking go.
Which is another band only playing for 25 minutes, but holy shit was it worth it. Their energy was breathtaking, the crowd was just as passionate as me, which I wasn't sure if it was gonna be, especially with how low down they were, surprisingly. But their musicianship was awesome, the songs were absolutely brutal. Sadly, my favourite song, a lot of my favourite songs did not make the cut, really. But with only 25 minutes, and it's never a guarantee, and the songs they did pick were still absolute belters. Especially that new song, oh my god, I loved that one. And, Apollo is a classic, of course. And Prometheus is an opener, hell yeah. Yeah, that was good. They were super worth it still, but please, again, come to UK, do a headline show, I will be there. But yeah, I could have died happy right there, but there was even more good stuff to come in this festival. Though I did have a break at this point because of how intense the Crystal Lake one was. When I came back, I went to see Imminence. So Imminence, I did hear their main single, and I thought it sounded pretty good. So I was like, yeah, I'll watch them, especially since there was no one else at the time I was particularly interested in. And for me, they had like a pretty good sound. They seemed pretty professional, but I didn't feel like their songs particularly stood out. Like they didn't really have that anything like any particular flair. It kind of sounded like a lot of bands in that genre sound at the moment for me. Maybe people might not agree on that. And they did have the singer was a violinist as well, funny enough. But for me, this was more like the simple violin, like the legato one note at a time kind of stuff. Like, not gonna judge him as a player. I mean, maybe he can play more than what he plays for the band. It might not add to the sound, but but because of how simple it was, it didn't really add anything to the sound for me. So I just still kind of found them okay. But yeah, no hate at all for them, and still, have respect for them, and I hope they, for their continued success. But they really were not for me, unfortunately. But yeah, after that I saw really have anyone I really strongly wanted to see at this point, except I thought Shadow of Intent, but first there was like 10 minutes of Limp Bizkit to watch before Shadow of Intent would start. And I've seen Limp Bizkit before, and they've never grabbed me as a particularly great live band. So I feel they sounded better than they have before, but still just kind of okay, like so. Fred Durst sounded actually decent. I thought he sounded better than he sounded in the past, and I much prefer the way he looks on stage now better than his old Cap one. I feel it suits him more as well with his personality, and he felt too old for the look when he started Limp Bizkit, like the old Red Cap one. So. But I thought the music performance seemed okay, but it's like, again, why would I see that when there's possibly like a younger band, really bringing something new to it. So I had heard a song of Shadow of Intent before, and I thought, these might be good. So I went to go and see them in the tent, but more interesting musically on a technical level, I guess, than Limp Bizkit, which is quite simple. But the band just had zero stage presence for me. I just couldn't get past how boring they were to watch. And when I mentioned with Obliviscaris how overly serious extreme metal bands can feel, like in kind of being static, this is what I mean. It felt kind of static, so I couldn't really get into them. After that, it's like, who else do I want to see? I'm not seeing Hoobastank, no way. And the only other option was like Corey Taylor, like his solo stuff, and what I heard wasn't super good, and I didn't want to just watch a glorified cover band. I had avoided those throughout the festival, but it's like I watched a bit more of Limp Bizkit, and so I'm just like, what, Corey Taylor. Let's just see what it's like. And what I would say is that the big difference for them is that Corey Taylor and his band had a bit of life in them, despite this being from a guy who was quite ill during the performance. But they had I felt how much they enjoyed doing what they were doing in their case, so that was a big plus. The couple of original songs that I heard when I was watching them were like pretty good, and I thought the one he dedicated to his wife was sweet. And they do gain quite a few points for doing a really good version of Snuff by Slipknot. I thought it's a great song. Yeah, like Duality kind of sucked. Like no one was into it. So I feel like ending with that was a pretty poor choice, and it doesn't help you from feeling like just a glorified covers band. As for the last bands of the day, the worst clash possible for me, it was Avenged Sevenfold, Machine Head, Black Dahlia Murder and Error. And that just felt so unfair, because Error are like a youngish band, but they perform, but I like their songs. Black Dahlia Murder, I was going to see them at Bloodstock Festival, and then the singer passed away just before, so obviously they pulled out, and I was super stoked to get to see them. And then there was Machine Head, who are fantastic live, and I could only see like half an hour before seeing Avenged, if I wanted to see all of Avenged. And then Avenged Sevenfold I've seen a few times before, but I really wanted to hear the new album. So I literally kind of got a bit of analysis paralysis trying to decide, oh my god, who am I actually going to see? So I started with Machine Head. So Machine Head had half an hour before Avenged were going to start. So, and honestly, I was this close to just staying for all of Machine Head, because they were insane. They were so good. And, I was just planning to watch maybe 20 minutes, get 10 minutes to get a good spot for Avenged, then watch some Black Dahlia Murder. But I just stayed extra for Machine Head because their performance were first rate, the energy, song choice, pyrotechnics and confetti, crowd interaction, and just the sheer enjoyment that they had on stage was contagious. But, I really wanted to hear the new Avenged Sevenfold songs. I think the new album is amazing. So I tried to make it for the first song of Avenged, but I ended up missing a bit of it to watch a bit of Locust by Machine Head, because that song's one of my favourites of theirs. But honestly, wish it didn't have to go this way, because they were incredible. So then, how were Avenged? Did I feel like I completely missed out and I should have just stayed there? Well, Avenged were like equally fantastic, so I felt like whoever I watched I was gonna regret either way. So I was gonna watch Black Dahlia Murder partway through Avenged, especially when I thought they might have started doing into the older stuff I've heard before, but yeah, they were incredible. Avenged were superb. Like, for me, the newest album is their best album since the self-titled one, which was also quite experimental, and they delivered on performing the new songs and the old songs. I think for some, especially those who didn't really give the new album a listen or a chance, this probably felt weaker for them as a set list because they were less classic. But I thought the song choices were superb. I love the inclusion of stuff like Buried Alive and Save Me. You know, like, you don't hear those very often. And Fiction as well. I found out afterwards that they've also started playing Blinded by Chains for the first time in like 18 years, which is cool, but they didn't include it on this one. I think that would have maybe won some people over. But yeah, so the new tracks were performed really, really well, except for the techno and slow ending one, We Love You, which is probably my second least favourite on the CD, but I do like it on CD. But the song just translated really poorly to live performance, especially the end. The studio version ends with acoustic guitars, and this version and then this one had a really weak sounding electric guitar on like clean tone, and it made the end just drag forever. And even like the rest of the song didn't translate that well to live. So but every other song from the new album was incredible, like more than worth it. And they played quite a few good fan favourites. You know, Little Piece of Heaven, you can't beat that. That's an amazing song. This is the best I've seen them live in a long time, like since 2011. So to explain how I feel, I'm gonna talk a bit about Avenged and seen them before. So I've seen Avenged several times. The first time was in 2009, supporting Iron Maiden at Twickenham, and you know, the Rev was still alive then, so obviously we'd take that for you know, might take that for granted at the time, but that was amazing to see. And they've given excellent performances throughout the years. You know, I've seen them play during the you know, Nightmare period a couple of times, seen them playing during Held of Kings, seen them playing during the stage. But before they took a long break around 2018, 2019, I saw them, you know, on the stage tour, and they just felt so dead on stage. They were bored and they were terrible. Like, I thought I was not gonna see Avenged for either a long time or ever again, because I was so disappointed with how lackluster they were. But then the new album came out years later, and they finally felt experimental again, like on their self-titled, or really through most of their catalogue. But you know, this one goes completely even more experimental than normal, and for me that really enhanced their sound. So, you know, in terms of live, I weren't sure if I was going to see them, because I was just hoping they weren't going to be bad like that time on the stage. I hoped they were going to give it their all, and they absolutely did. And I feel like part of why the band was better for me this time is that it feels like the band have stopped like giving a fuck about expectations, about what the fans you know, expect, and just do what they want and have fun with it. And that can seem anti-fan to some people, but for me, that shows a band who are finally exciting again, and, you know, pushing the boundaries. Playing it safe is what a lot of these bands that kind of fall off do, you know, like where they're just kind of pumping out the same kind of album all the time. And you don't want the albums to turn out routine or as expected, because it just becomes complacent and boring, while Avenged actually tried to push for something special again. So in terms of the setlist, I would have loved like maybe one extra older song like Beast of a Harlot or something. I can't really complain with the setlist overall, and the album spread was really good. It included everything except the first album, which they never play, sadly. And the new songs obviously were bangers. We played like 5 or 6 of them, which was nice. Hats off Avenged. Glad missing the rest of Machine Head didn't really dampen the end of the last day too badly. Shame with Black Dahlia Murder, though. I hope to see them someday, maybe on their own tour. But yeah, anyway, that was my download experience. You know, it's all subjective and fun, so if you enjoyed Fall Out Boy or Scene Queen, totally happy for you. Either way, thank you for watching through. I hope, you know, you're not too mad about some of my opinions on these, but honestly, I was just really passionate about how good the standard was this year for bands, because I gave like 8 bands, I think, a 9 out of 10 or higher this year, which is really good. So yeah, even though there were some disappointments, I didn't really drag it down. So yeah, thank you for watching, and take care. Bye bye.